welcome. We are here live. Just a FYI, we don't start right away just to try to get the viewership in, give a little time for everybody to get in and whatnot. So, yeah. We had some up there, and then they all kind of dropped off. So.
Everybody left us.
I don't know what the deal is with that. But we are back, and we are live. And, yeah. So I'm Ryan Hoblick with Late Apex Performance Coatings, and this is
Jacob Brown with Turn 13 Motorsports.
And we're kicking it off here. So let's go first thing first. What do you got new? Anything new going on in the shop? You had a bike you were dynoing that went not so good. Ooh. If you want to comment on that or not, I don't know.
Yeah. So I started taking that one apart. So what happened is I got this bike in that just got the engine completely rebuilt, all kinds of fancy upgrade parts and everything. It wasn't just like a standard rebuild. And got it up on the dyno. The guy was, I think he was in Virginia, I think is what he said. I can't remember, but anyways, another shop built the engine, shipped it to him. I don't know what all he did. I assume put it in the bike and put it back together. I don't know. Anyways, put it on the dyno, and it was super, super hard starting, like slow cranking, even like with a charged battery. Didn't want to run very good, and then just kind of died, like just kind of running through the motions. Like obviously I got up to temp and everything like that, and then I was just doing some light data logging, going through it to check it out, and it just stalled out, died, started leaking a little bit of oil. I go to turn it back on, and she's got a nice knock going on. It's not a rod knock, I found out, so like that's good, but there's something definitely making some metal clanking noise in there. So I put it on the lift and started taking it apart and see what we got going on. But I did drain the oil out of it, and it wasn't filled with bearing material, so that's a plus. And then I put an R1 on there, and I was able to tune it. It didn't explode, so that was good. It's not very often we get them blowing up or having issues on the dyno, but it happens. It just sucks for the guy because it was, again, like a fresh build. Like, it's not like he'd been riding it for a year and wanted like a refresh or something. Like, it was just like, hey, this is full built, let's tune it and go, and not so much. So yeah, I mean, other than that, just I had a bunch of cylinder heads I had to ship out that I ported, and we had a decent amount of stacks this weekend and this past week that we shipped out too, so the shipping stuff is going good as well.
Yeah, you've been on the stacks, so you were telling me, getting those, which is nice. Nice little...
They fluctuate so up and down. Like, for a while, it was steady, but it was just a couple here, a couple there, but it was kind of, like, steady. And then it was, like, I don't know, 2 months ago or something, it just, like, dried up. Like, nobody bought them. I don't know if they were, like, looking for a deal or something, but I went, like, 20 days or something like that without selling anything. And then, I don't know, like, it was just, like, everybody that was on the fence about buying just decided to buy one weekend. And I had, like, 6 orders in one weekend. So it's, like, it's just kind of, like, up and down. It'd be difficult if that was my only income because it's so hard to, like, gauge it.
Can you see a trend of, like, certain months that are, like, good, bad, or?
I mean, just, like, with, like, YouTube and stuff like that, I could go into the analytics of like Shopify and it'll show me all that good stuff. I haven't looked at it in a long time, so
interesting.
I always see an uptrend when something happens on social media, right? Like if a YouTuber buys a set of my stacks and tries them, or somebody somebody reviews them or they put them on the dyno or something like that, something that's just hits a big social media thing, then I always see a huge influx, which is cool.
And I try to tell you to be more active on your own page because, for me, anytime that I am more active on mine, more calls, more interaction, more messages. Doesn't always mean always more business, but there's more inquiries and stuff. And usually, let's say it's, 20% or 30% actually fall through with the inquiries. That's better than, 0 inquiries or,
for sure.
If it's 10 inquiries versus 5 and I get, 30% of the 5 or whatever. But, it's always good to be a little bit more active because just like the YouTube or whatever, if there's something that's kind of pops and is interactive, then people share that and it gets more interaction. Kind of like when we did my bike, we put the dyno numbers up and stuff. I'm sure some things popped off with that. It's interesting to see how that works, and it's just getting the word out. And that's why, I definitely appreciate anybody who shares anything because the base that sees my page or Jake's page or whatever, it only goes as far as the reach as the people who actually follow it or whatever. If you're sharing it, now you're reaching people on your list or whatever, and it just, it's more expansive, and, they may be looking for, work in particular, but don't know about, our shops or whatever, and that definitely helps immensely. So,
yeah, for sure. And it's free and easy.
Just
click a button, off you go.
Absolutely. So for me, I got quite a few things knocked out this past week, which was nice. Cleared up a lot of things. Starting to clean the shop a little bit. I still got a couple jobs to finish up on, but getting some things moved around so we can get working on the oven. So I ordered, got the metal stuff. We'll put that in with the gangway down there, and so whenever they're done with that, they'll call me, and then I can continue on with the oven build.
Did they have to order it?
No, but they have to cut it and bend it, and they said they were kind of behind. So,
okay.
So just waiting on them to give me a call, and that'll be good there. I think I told you the other day, I finally sorted out the business internet for in here.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a pain in the ass, but I got that worked out. I was supposed to get it today, and looks like their overnight didn't work.
Yeah.
Probably a UPS thing or whatever, but so get that. I'm waiting on the antenna anyways for it, so it's not like I could have really used it until I got the antenna. But just kind of sorting those things out, and then probably right now I'm looking at probably the week after Thanksgiving is when I'm gonna shut down to work on the oven, as long as all the parts and pieces I need are in place to be able to do that, and then. I talked to you about it, but I'm gonna kind of wait until I get this piece of equipment in to really let it open in the open. But I'm gonna be expanding my business a little bit and be ordering a new nice piece of equipment here soon that'll allow me to do some other things that are gonna be cool and expand into a couple different markets. It'll be interesting to see and maybe come up with a few. Cool products from that, just for myself, and maybe get a little bit of something from you, some ideas and things that we could kind of do with that.
I think it'll be killer. There's so much stuff you can do with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So that's the other thing. I'm trying to make some space for that. And I put it up on the page the other day, but will you grab that wheel real quick? I know it's a tight fit. We're not up against the oven today. I wanted to make something a little bit different and whatnot, but so we have a little bit better cool view stuff. But yeah, so tried this new powder out. This is Golden Ticket from Columbia Coatings, and it's a dormant. So it's probably the best looking gold I've used. I've tried to shoot gold over chrome and everything else, and it didn't really pop as good. And this stuff here, for whatever reason, it works fantastic. And since I've had those pictures and videos up on the page, man, I've had so many people like, yep, want that. Yeah.
I believe it. Like it looks great, and I hate gold. Like
Yeah.
I absolutely hate gold. But the finish of it and everything, like it is really really good.
Yeah, it's close to that like, anodized look. It's kind of have that plated look, but I'm curious what it look like with that kind of satin clear to have that more I don't know, like OEM forged,
Yeah.
kind of anodized look, that satin.
Like a nice March Cine.
Yeah. So I'm dying to try that. So I'm going to try that out here soon. But yeah, it looks cool, man. It came out really good. I'm really happy with it, and it's kind of it's still a bitch to kind of shoot, but I'm extremely happy with how it came out compared to most other golds because it's definitely a lot easier to shoot than other golds. So that if anybody asked for gold now I'm okay with that versus before, which was like, yeah, I don't want to do that, but.
It almost like here in front of you, like around inside the rim, it almost looks like the reflective tape. Like you just put that reflective tape in it.
Oh yeah,
It's
like the
just
heat
so-
tape stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it looks really dope, man. I would love to see what it'll look like on a bike or whatever. But yeah, it looks real cool, and it's been eye catcher and had some inquiries, so very cool. You pop that back up there. You just have to put it by that rubber stopper so it doesn't like roll away. Yeah, there you go. Just shove it up underneath there. Cool. So yeah, so that's what I got going on that. I don't think I have anything else like really soon. Just the couple things I'm going to try to get worked out with the oven and stuff. So I finally finished that stuff up. So I'm getting excited about that. Trying to stay motivated on that. Yeah. And I was going to have us kind of maybe talk about today, and we can, or maybe we'll save it for another time because it might be a little bit longer. But I don't think we ever talked about, maybe between each other, but, maybe people don't know how you or I got started into what we're doing and what brought on starting your own business, like how it started out, what got you into it, or whatever. I mean, if you want to get into it, we can, or we can wait for another day.
No, that's fine. I mean, nobody's really like asking questions or anything, so we can just fill the air with that.
All right, so I'll ask you. So how did it all begin? Like, what was it that got you into what you're doing, and what got you to the point of where you're at right now?
I just kind of took a couple, 10 professions, put them on a wall, and threw a dart at it, and then here we are.
I don't think that's the case
It
whatsoever.
worked out great.
Yeah.
So it's funny. He's saying I'm quiet. Mark's saying I'm quiet. Sorry, Mark. I will.
Yeah,
I'm probably just not talking into the mic. Very good.
That's exactly what it is. He's just not up in the mic, so.
Anyways, so just like most kids, boys, whatever, who would grow up playing with stuff, dirt bikes and go-karts and four-wheelers and all that good stuff, and tinkering with them and all that stuff, and then you turn 16, you get into cars, so on and so forth. So actually out of high school, I ended up going to University of Northwestern Ohio for automotive high performance and alternative fueling systems. So I did all that, so on and so forth. I kind of wanted to, I was looking more at I guess you would say, kind of a normal career. While I was in school, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go through the motions here. Then I'm going to get a job at a good dealership, be a dealer tech, so on and so forth. And that's kind of going to be my path. And I didn't do much at all in high school. I really just kind of got by. But then once I got into college, I really just, got obsessed with learning. And so I was just, reading nonstop and doing everything I could to just learn about everything. And I realized that I didn't want to be a dealership mechanic. I was happy with what I was learning and all that good stuff, but I didn't want to be a mechanic. So After I graduated from there, I moved to Pennsylvania for a little bit, and I went to Penn State University, and then transferred from Penn State to Ohio State when I came back to Ohio for mechanical engineering, because I wanted to get more into that side of things and everything. And I ended up taking a job at a dealership while I was going to school, but it was a motorcycle dealership. And I worked, as a tech for a little bit, and then moved to a service writer, and then eventually moved to the service manager. And so I started running the service department. And it was funny because I was kind of like, the service manager running the service department and whatnot, but they had a dyno there. And so like I would tune people's bikes and stuff on the dyno. Like none of the techs or anything could do it, but I could. So it was just kind of like a side thing that I would do.
So did you learn the tuning stuff in school, or is this something that you kind of like learned on your own, or what?
So like physically using a dyno, I did get to use both Dynojet inertia style and Mustang eddy current style in school. I wouldn't really say that like that was a make or break. It was more just like playing with it, like it was fun and whatnot, but classes at the school were 6 weeks long. And so you didn't get like a whole lot of time to really dive into stuff. It was more of an introduction to everything, right? So like,
was it more as it was on the more on the mechanics of it, not so much specific software or tuning software, correct?
Yeah, there was so we actually didn't go over any tuning software, anything at all. Yeah, it was quite simply like, this is a dyno, this is what it does. You can put your car on here, and they were car dynos too, obviously, because it was car school, not bike school. Put your car on it, set it up. This is how you hook the ignition lead up. This is how you tie it down. This is how you get AFR, so on and so forth. And they probably went over like, some guidelines on tuning or stuff. I don't quite remember that class, but I didn't actually really care too much for the dynos in that class, because the class that you do that in is basically like how to make horsepower, right? And so they also had flow benches in there that we got to do cylinder head work on and use the flow benches. And that's what I went after. Because I actually had, I built my own flow bench at the time, and it was just garbage, but it worked. Like it was basically a shop vac with a test tube, and, it had a little, a program with an electronic manometer on it. And so it would work, but like it was totally garbage compared to an actual super flow, right? And so that's what I wanted to do the whole time. So I spent like 90% of the time in that class, like using superflows and playing with that. But I did get to use the dyno and stuff. But yeah, we never went over like, software, hardware, anything like that to tune. It was more just like, hey, this is the dyno, this is how you use it and stuff like that. So the bulk of my knowledge on tuning actually came from like reading books on my own, and then like trial and error with my own stuff. So obviously I like most people, I tuned my stuff before like anybody else's and whatnot. And I tuned multiple bikes of my own and my car before I ever touched like anybody else's stuff. And then I started dabbling in it with the dyno at the dealership, because actually when I started there, it wasn't even being used. It was just kind of like shoved in a corner. And nice. I was like, hey, let's whip that out and see what we can do. And so I started playing with that, so on and so forth. And then I got to the point where I wanted to push that further, and so I pitched this whole business plan to the GM of the dealership. That would be this kind of like performance division. Not changing it up or anything, but just buying a nice dyno and some nice suspension stuff, so we could do more of like performance stuff as opposed to just like rebuilding forks and not tuning and anything like that. And it sucks. Like I spent a lot of time on this business plan. I called around, like seeing what the competition was, all this and that, made this real nice presentation. And they were basically just like, nah, we don't want to do that. We focus on oil changes and stuff. And, a little while after that, I pitched that, and probably 6 months after that, I was pretty unhappy with the dealership anyways. Upper management and all that stuff there, like I just didn't like it and whatnot. And then my dad unexpectedly passed during this time, and it was kind of one of those things where it's just like, man, screw this, like life's too short. I'm gonna do something fun. Like I'm just gonna jump off and try it. And so I basically just figured out how to get the dyno myself, and put my notice into the dealership, and I was like, I'm out, deuces. And then we went through the whole thing where they're like, what's wrong and can you stay and this and that, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go do my own thing. And so I've went through a couple different partnerships and buildings in that in the Turn 13 company. That's been quite the headache, but we finally made our place to where we are now, with our own building, our own everything, like all is ours. So everything, it's a slow process, and it's been very difficult, but I'm very happy for where I am right now. I'm very fortunate too. I know that I know a few people that have tried to do like what I've done. Not that I'm anything special, but they've tried to I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna do my own thing. Like, I'm gonna work on bikes and people are gonna pay me and stuff. And it just hasn't worked for them. Be it for whatever reason, it hasn't worked. And so I'm very fortunate that it has worked for me, and I'm able to live and provide doing that.
Yeah, I think there's a good reason why for that. I mean, the quality of work is obviously one. Two, your scope of knowledge, and you're always, we talked about this a little bit before about reinvesting in the business and stuff, and getting different, just increasing your ability of what you can do. And it not so much being like outside of the scope of the things you do, but just increasing your capabilities. May it be newer technology or a better piece of equipment from what you have that makes things more efficient, or just better in general. But I mean, that's one thing. And then obviously, because when you do good work, it's all word of mouth and it comes back. And that's return business is what's happening. And you definitely excel in the quality of work and what you put out, and also with explaining to people stuff, because there's some people that I've said, hey, talk to Jake about this or that, and I'm like, and when he talks to you, he's going to go into it and you're going to be lost, but just understand that like he's trying to explain things to you, and then you'll get a capacity of like really how much knowledge that you have. And even sometimes when you message me like, yeah, let's check this out, whatever, I'm like, dude, this is what I pay you for. Like, I have no clue what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, and that's real cool. And I think, just that perseverance and striving for that quality and stuff. The only thing that I told you, which you probably don't care about because you're busy as shit as it is, but there's definitely, I think you could garner some more business by being a little bit more active on social media, even though I know it's not like the most favorite thing to do, but it does, like in today's day and age, that's what helps. But there's also like the time, like when you do have a little bit of that excess time, even though it's I don't even know how to really say it, but you have 2 kids, you got a wife to deal with, or you have things that are not like actual work in the shop, but improvements that you have to make. So it's hard to get away from that, to like take the time to do this or that. Or as we talked about before, when you're on a roll with certain things, you don't want to stop and like take a picture. But I do want to get involved to help you, like when you're dynoing stuff, to get over there and like take some videos and stuff, just to kind of promote the business a little bit on your page, because I looked at, I think what your last post was like February or March or some crazy shit like that.
Well, the last actual post I did that wasn't just like, hey, we're doing a podcast, come look.
This is my bike, right?
Your bike.
Yeah, that's like last March. So, and like I try to at least do some stuff weekly.
Oh, dude, you're awesome with it. Like, you're always posting stuff up. I'm like, damn it, he just posted another thing up. I need to do something. And it was funny, actually, that mount that I put on my wall that I showed you for like the phones in the dyno room.
Yeah.
It's already like rattled and fell apart because I wasn't using it, and just like running bike after bike after bike, like the vibrations, like the part of it like rattled, and so now there's like just half a piece up there, and I don't know where the rest is, so I'm just gonna have to buy another one.
Well, like I said, I got the DJI Osmo, whatever, the gimbal one, and it's tripod mount or whatever. So nice. That's something that you could use that if you want, or I could, like, it'd probably be better if I just come over and do it for you on some stuff, because you'll either not do it or it'll be very raw, where you need something a little bit splashy, but
Yeah.
there you go. Get a question from Mark.
Yeah, so bike tunes, for most of the stuff, it's kind of like a flat 525. And that's you not like buying anything, that's just like dropping the bike off. So whatever. Did you say he has an R6?
Yeah, he's got a, I forget what year it is, but it's 17 plus.
Yeah, so for example, an R6, you just drop an R6 off, it's 525. You know, you don't pay anything for it. So that's kind of the cost of tune. Now it can change a little bit, like you know, for example, if you're wanting like on Ryan's bike, we did a pump gas tune and then we did an MR12 tune. And so there's two different fuels. So I do have different charges for multi-fuels. Also, like, you know, if we're doing E85, that's a big one, because that's not just like a, you know, trim here, trim there, and make it fit. Like, that's a complete new remap and everything. So when you get into stuff like that, the price can change a little bit. But yeah, I mean, pretty much like run-of-the-mill tune is 525. And then the auto blipper. So
Do you now? So I was kind of talking to him a little bit before. That's why I told him to ask you. Do you have to tune the bike in order to run the auto blipper? Like, is it something that links together with the F-Tech? Because I know that you have to have. It's tied to your. So they send you a code or whatever in order to utilize it.
Yeah. So, you know, they're going to ship you, you know, some shift rods and that shift sensor. And it's going to have an activation code on the back. And you don't necessarily have to tune the bike, but you do have to flash the ECU with FTECU. Like, the software does have to be flashed into it. So it's not like there's some extensive tuning that needs to go with it. They have a lot of like that pre-made and already set up in there. So like you can go in and basically just turn the auto blipper on in the quick shifter, and you'll be good, but you have to like flash it in the ECU, right? So like if you wanted to get it, you order the kit to flash your ECU, and you order the quick shifter as well and the auto blipper, and then you'll either have somebody tune it or you'll flash a pre-made map onto it, but you'll just have to make sure you check on the auto blipper. So the ECU-based ones are nice. So FTECU, Woolwich Racing, like those are ECU-based quick shift auto blippers. They're nice because they're very clean. You know, there's like one wire that you hook up to, and then it references back into the ECU, and everything's clean, all is good. But yes, you do have to flash the ECU and everything like that. So that's the only kind of kicker, where if you get like a Translogic unit, which Translogics are good. They're completely standalone. And in fact, I think the new ones, you can change kill times on your phone. Like, you can Bluetooth to it and change kill times. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Just the annoying part is how much goes onto the bike to put those on. I mean, you're putting 20 foot of cable on the bike.
Yeah, because it has to tie into ignition coils and all that jazz, yeah.
Yeah, so you're tying into the ignition coils, and then if you're running quick shift and auto blip, some of them have like multi things that you have to tie in. So you have to tie the quick shifter into the coils, and you have to tie the blipper into the coils. Then the blipper goes to the throttle motors, and then you have the two boxes that control it all. So it's not like anything crazy, like it's difficult or tears the bike up, or you have to cut and rewire and all that stuff. Like, it's all clean, fit and finish, you know, plug in and stuff. It's just there's so much stuff on the bike. And so I'm sure you've seen it where, like, you know, you take an airbox off, or you take the seat off and get under like the battery tray and everything, and there's just 100 wires, and it's like, Jesus, you know. That's the only thing I don't like about the standalone shifters. IRC is another one. Heel Tech, I think, makes one.
There's this garbage. I had that on my Ducati, and it was
IRC or Heel Tech?
No, Heel Tech.
Yeah,
because it's got like a magnetic base.
Was it the one with a little washer looking thing that you just put on there?
Yeah, it's garbage. Yeah, it was garbage.
Yeah, I've heard bad things about those. But the ones that actually use a real strain gauge, like the Cordona sensors or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, like IRC, Woolwich Racing, FTECU, so on and so forth. The shift sensors themselves and the shifting is really, really good. It's where you get into issues is when people mess up the times. Like, they go in and they're like, I'm going to change the kill times, or I'm going to change the blip time, or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you can get them to work real funky, you know. And
Right.
and they definitely do, like, they can be better, right? Like when you put them on with just standard settings, they work, but they can be better. And that's where you might find, you know, giving that to a tuner, you know, could help, Mark. Again, I don't know what you're buying, what you have, what you don't have, so on and so forth. If you already had the bike tuned, like if you've already had the bike tuned.
So this is new. He just got this not too long ago. He's new to bikes altogether.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's.
So where did he get FTCU?
He just fucking Googled shit, right?
Okay,
so,
yeah.
And he asked me about it, and I'm like, look, I don't know enough about the F-Tech, or I know just enough, but I'm like, you know, if you want the real information, because you've tried, you know, you've installed and used these different ones, that's a guy to talk to.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of both. FTECU and Woolwich. I do a lot of Woolwich. I prefer Woolwich, honestly. And the biggest reason I prefer them is because of their data logging capabilities. That and FTECU, like it's kind of buggy, and the customer support, I won't say it's good or bad. It's just been really annoying for me. I don't know. There's just a couple little, you know, quirks in FTCU that kind of annoy me that aren't there with Woolwich. Not that Woolwich is perfect. Like, it's got things that annoy me as well. But for most all the bikes, I can data log them, you know, with Woolwich. And that's something you can't do on all of them with FTCU. And that's if you can't mass data log, then like tuning is very, very difficult. Or you will how do you spell that one? Woolich.
And Mark, like I told you, if you look or go on, it should be Turn 13 Motorsports on Facebook or turn13motorsports.com. You'll find Jake's number, or you can message him on, you know, Facebook or whatever, and say, hey, you know, what's the cost on this? And because Jake sells Woolwich, he sells F-Tech, he sells all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So he can price you out what you need.
Is Mark local?
Yeah, he's in Columbus, and I think he's going to have me do some powder coat stuff or whatever. He's not quite ready yet. He's kind of going through, trying to figure out exactly what's what and whatever. But I told him, you know, if he's going to get stuff done by you and he wants stuff done by me, we can work it out. We've done that before. I get the bike, do
totally.
whatever, and then I can run it over to you, and we're vice versa.
If you guys don't know, we're like 10 minutes apart here.
Yeah.
Like we're just right down the road from each other, and so. You know, we were talking about another customer that same deal. He's actually trying to have his bike between, I think, the three of us, right? Omar, he's
he's
coming to you,
Matt,
and then to me, and then to Matt, and so we're kind of like juggling the bike around. But Matt's a little farther away, but still, like we all work together, so we can kind of make that happen. So. Yeah, like if you know you're getting your wheels powder coated and you want the bike tuned and all that, you don't have to like try to figure out like plan all around here. Just like take it to one place and we'll figure the rest out from there.
Right.
But yeah, so Woolwich, you can look that up. Woolich. Again, those are that's what I prefer to use as a dyno tuner. Again, because of the data logging capabilities. Like I said, if you can't do like mass data logging, then it's either A, going to be very difficult and you're not going to, you know, get all of it done or spec'd out where it needs to be, or you're just going to do a really shitty job. You're just like, honest to God, I pulled a file today on a bike that I was doing, and it had, so if you ever pull up like a fuel table, like any tuning, it doesn't matter if it's like a Power Commander or FTCU, Woolwich, like a freaking juice box or something like that. They all have the same thing. It's an Excel spreadsheet, right? And then you just have columns and rows of numbers in there, and you
except for
in alpha stuff.
The Aprilia.
For in alpha stuff, yes. This isn't torque based map or anything. This is just in alpha stuff. Or alpha in, whatever. You're going to have that Excel sheet, and you're just going to plus, minus, this and that, whatever. And so when you can mass data log, you'll open that up, and that whole spreadsheet will have trims everywhere in it, right? Because you can look at, the actual number, which is kind of arbitrary, it doesn't mean anything. Then you have trim value and trim percent. The value is, what you changed it to. Like if it was 200, you changed it to 205. Cool. Like that's what it shows. You added 5, to the value. And then the trim percentage is the nice one to look at because you can see like you had to add 12% here. You had to add 11% here. You had to take away 3% here. So on a fully tuned map, that whole thing should have edits to it, right? Like you shouldn't be just like having a whole chunk that's nothing done to it or something. Right. So I pulled the map off this bike earlier, and it was like, I don't know, it was 10 to 13.5 or something like that. There was like plus 5%, and that was it. Like that was the tuning. And so somebody had like flash ECU and, taken off the codes and stuff like that. And then they added this small 5% of fuel in this small little window up here.
Interesting.
Probably like 3% of the map they had done over. Actually, I had a bike. It was a BMW. It was, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that, S1000. That got built. Shop down, I don't know, down south somewhere. Built it. It was a 2 mil over engine, ported head cams, all this good stuff, right? And they were tuning it with Woolwich. And the guy he called me on the phone because he's from Cleveland, and I have a lot of customers up there that, do roll racing and stuff like that. He's like, hey, I'm talking to this company. They got the bike done, this and that, but they're not quite confident on the tuning. Like, they're using Woolwich, but they say they can't do this. And I'm like, that sounds weird. That you should be able to do that. I don't know why they're saying that, And we went back and forth a couple times, and he's like, well, if I get the bike back from them, can I just bring it to you and have you tune it? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't care, And so he goes down, picks the bike up, brings it back up, and I pull the same thing. I pull the file off because I always read out ECUs, right? Like when you first hook up to an ECU, you always want to read it out,
right?
Just so you have that file, right? Because anything can happen when you're flashing stuff. Like, fortunately, I've only bricked one ECU, and it was mine. When when Woolwich was really, really new. This was probably 2012, 13, something like that, maybe 14. I don't know. It was really, really early. Woolwich was super new, but it was kind of game changing, right? Like no more power commanders. We can flash ECU. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Totally just break the ECU completely. No like power outages, no nothing. Just something somewhere hiccup in the software and just trashed it. And like I'd cycle the key on and it would just like flash at me. Like I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. So I email them and I ended up having to send my ECU across seas because Woolwich is UK based company. So they have US stuff, but they're a UK based company. So I had to ship them my ECU across seas and they had to do whatever they did to fix it. And in the meantime, I just got on eBay and ordered another one because it was only like $200, and they hooked me up with a free file so that I could, tune that one as well.
Right.
And then they did end up fixing the ECU and sending it back, so I have a spare ECU for that. But anyways, what I was getting at is you always want to pull the file from the ECU so that you have, a known good working file, right? The bike came in and everything worked, so we pulled the ECU file and we have that. So now if something messes up, something goes wrong, something's not working the way it's supposed to, we can upload that stock file back to it, and we're still there. Because, everything should be good and everything should be ironed out. But like with Zach's Triple R, it was a corrupt bin file, and that was from Woolwich. So like that's nothing that I have control over, and I flashed the file onto it, and it trashed. It didn't break the ECU, but it just didn't work anymore. Right. Like the bike would turn on and then it immediately turn back off. So like lights worked, signals worked, like fuel pump worked, but like it would turn on and then immediately turn back off. And I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And then Woolwich finally was like, yeah, by the way, that was a corrupt bin file. That's why we pulled it. Because one day I got on there and I was like, hey, guys, that file's not... It was like I think it's an A1 image was the US image on it. Like, hey, guys, that's gone. Like, I can't get into this ECU or anything. And they're like, oh, yeah, that was a corrupt file. We should be getting a new one in. And I'm like, oh, thanks, guys. So anyways, you always read out the files, and on a lot of them that have been flashed, it'll basically just read it out, and it'll be like, hey, this has been flashed. You don't have the license for it. Do you want to request it? And I'm like, no, I don't want to request it because nobody transfers stuff. They'll just, tell you screw off. But some of them don't have the lock option, and the BMW is one of them, right? So the bike came to me, full belt and everything like that. I pulled the ECU image, and it was the same thing as the one I was telling you about earlier. There was basically like a section at wide open throttle, like from 10 to 14, somewhere like way up top there, that there was fuel added to, and then nothing else.
That's crazy.
Like 70% throttle at 8,000 RPMs hasn't even been changed at all.
That's wild.
And some bikes you can get away with that, right? Like if you put a pipe on a bike and you put your Sprint air filter in it, cool. Like it's not going to be that far off. Like you're fine. But this was a 2 mil,
full belt,
2 mil ported head cams. Like this thing needed drastically changed. And so again, when you could mass data log, I could go through and fix it. But I showed the guy. I was like, hey, they said they couldn't figure it out. Well, they weren't really doing anything. That's why. And there's a lot of people that use these ECU flashing tools that, well, one, they don't have a dyno. And not to take anything away from the guys that street tune, because that's great. If you street tune, it's crazy dangerous, and I would never do it. But you can at least get a good tune on it if you do that. But there's a lot of guys that just flash. They're just like, hey, I'm just going to flash. Or, they might have a dyno, but I can tell you a lot of people that have a dyno that shouldn't have a dyno. Like, just because you have a machine doesn't mean you know how to use it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, being able to operate a dyno doesn't mean you know how to tune anything. It's the farthest thing from it. Operating a dyno is no different than riding a bike. Like, you get on the bike and you ride it. Anybody can do that. That doesn't mean it's going to get tuned right.
Right.
And so I ended up having to go through that whole BMW again, and we got it sorted out. But it's just crazy, some of the stuff people do. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of like taking people's money.
This is true.
Putting a file on there, and off you go. That's why for the longest time, and I'm still pretty much this way, but I don't sell internet online flashes.
Yeah.
Even like your 300 or your 660 or my CBRs, GSXR, so on and so forth. Like, obviously I have loads of files for these, but they're not bike specific. They are bike specific, and when you mail them in, they're not bike specific. And I just don't want to. I don't want to have my name out there on a bunch of ECUs that might not run right in that configuration. So I just like to have people come, and I dyno the bike, I set it up for their stuff, and then, I know it's good.
Oh, yeah, it's much better that way, for sure.
Yeah. And, yeah, I know that you were mentioning earlier that I will, I'll just talk and talk and talk. And
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine, man.
If there's something that I enjoy, or I'm explaining something or something like that, I can just ramble on and on. And
That's for sure, yeah.
Who's winning the track day between you two?
Mark, definitely. Excuse me. Definitely me, because Jake doesn't ride the big track much anymore. And, so I think I could take him easily.
I'll argue that, and I'll say that I could. But I at least need a couple sessions to warm up. But we need to go somewhere like NCM or Mid-Ohio so I know the track. Yeah,
NCM would be fine. I think I could take you if you were on a 1000. I think I could take you on my 660.
I think I posted a better time than your 660 though. I
guess
that was when I was riding though.
Yeah, and also I think my best time there was with the old when the motor was making like no power because it was
it's a win for me no matter what. If I win, I win. If I lose, I built your engine, so.
Yeah, but the engine doesn't mean shit unless there's a good rider on it.
Well,
not that I'm a great rider, but I think it could still take you.
Still needs it.
Here's somebody else. What do you think about people using straps to adjust suspension on the ride? If you're talking about strapping the front, that's like drag race stuff, and like I don't care about that at all. So I think it's stupid, but
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about when they have the front forks strapped and they got it coming up over the neck there, and then you can kind of hit the brakes and collapse the front end. That is, again, like he said, like roll racing, drag racing stuff. So I don't do it. I don't like it, but it has its place. I mean, it's it's not anything new. In fact, you see it like in MotoGP right now and stuff like that, where they collapse the front so that they can launch better and whatnot, and that's what they're doing. Obviously, in MotoGP, like it's more sophisticated than a strap where the calipers are supposed to bolt up to, but that's what they're doing. They're just collapsing the front end to keep it from wanting to wheelie and flip over so they can launch it harder, take off harder. So if they're launching, obviously, it's from a stop. But even the roll race guys, when you're doing a hit from that kind of like 40 mile an hour ish, 50 mile an hour ish, you want to go from first gear. You want to have kind of the hardest hit you can get. And on anything that has any amount of power, first gear is very, very hard to take off in. It's just way too aggressive. And so anything you can do to try to limit that wheelie action is going to help. And you don't want to ride on the electronics. Like somebody might be like, well, why are you going to strap the front end if the bike has wheelie control? Aren't they doing the same thing? Well, they're both trying to keep the front end down, but they're going about it different, right? Like when wheelie control kicks in or traction control or any of those, it's killing power. Like it is slowing the bike down to keep the front end down. They're trying to strap the front end so that it will just stay down and they don't have to get rid of power. But anytime that traction or wheelie control kicks in, you're killing power from the engine. So yeah, that's kind of what they're doing with the front there. If that's what you're referring to. I don't know any other way to use straps to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's most likely it. So,
but yeah, drag race, roll race stuff. But if you go watch a MotoGP race, and you'll see in the beginning when they're all driving up to their spot, they go up and then they slam on the brakes. Like you'll all see them basically like hop the rear wheel because it's a mechanical device. And so what they're going to do is you're going to see them like reach for something on their triple clamps, their handlebars, something like that. And they're going to slam the front brakes and collapse the front end. And then, they're going to turn a knob or pull a lever or something, whatever they do on that particular bike. And the front's not going to come back up. And it's going to be locked down so that they can launch the bike. Just like with those straps, just a lot better. And then as soon as they brake going into turn one, it releases itself. So they have full travel again. And then they go one step further, and they have the rear ride height devices,
right?
Which those are pretty trick. If you watch them like coming out of the corners, you'll see the rear squat and just like the bike kind of collapse down, and it drops the rear end as well when they go. It's pretty cool. Like if you look at some of the launching pictures, like the bikes look like they're 2 inches off the ground. Are you pulling one up? I know there were some good images of the Aprilias. I try to explain in detail if I can. Yeah, he's got some pictures over here. I'll pull up in just a second.
I'm gonna see if I could actually get
like a video of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys will go, like there's some guys that won't run the straps on the front of their bikes like that, and they'll cut the forks. And so, like inside of the fork where the internals are, they'll cut the springs down and run spacers in there to limit the travel of the fork. And so the fork itself will be much, much shorter. And so they don't have to strap the bike because it's already like, nose down because of how short they made them. The problem with that is the front end rides like garbage then. And so it's not really, you don't really want to do that to a bike that you're actually riding. Like those are the guys that like unload their bike from a trailer and go roll race and then put it back on a trailer. The front ends are not any fun to ride on. Now we'll see if Ryan can display this properly.
Man, I'm trying.
See if he's figured the software out.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. You know, I mean.
What's up, Chris? But yeah, going way back into like tuning software.
There we go.
Oh,
look at that.
Here we are.
Oh, shrink it a little bit here.
Yeah, Mark, just feel free to reach out to me anytime, and we can talk more personal about your R6 and what you want to do to it and options that they have and stuff like that. But yeah, have a good night, and thanks for tuning in. Well, there she be.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. They get that thing hunkered down. That way it doesn't wheelie as much, and get going.
Yeah, you can see how low it is to the ground.
There we go. New features coming with the podcast.
So MotoGP, they have so much technology to play with, right? Like even on that little clip, you saw it kind of like hovering up a little wheelie there. Like they are 100% using electronics, but they don't have a choice. Like they're not riding around a 180 horsepower bike and, strap in the front and trying to go. Like they have a 300 horsepower, the most advanced motorcycle in the world. Like them and they use first gear. That's the other cool thing. Like when you see guys doing track days and stuff like that, most of the guys that do track days don't use first gear.
Yeah, I mean, I launch and that's it. Like, on a race, I just launch and I'm never back in first gear.
Yeah, even like the bus stop at NCM, you could use first. Like you're going slow enough to use first, but nobody ever uses first. It's from my point of view, the two biggest things are first is so aggressive that you don't need to.
Right.
Like it's hard to take off like in first, coming out of there. But also with standard gearboxes, like on street bikes, we have to go through neutral.
Yep.
So you're going second neutral first and then first neutral second. And so it's very easy to find yourself in neutral. And if you've ever been on the track or in a corner or anything like that and you go into neutral, it's a bad time.
It's a real bad
It's a real bad time. And so the gearboxes that they're using in MotoGP aren't like that.
Right.
So it's neutral 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically, once they get into gear, they're just playing through the gears. They never see neutral again until they're done, and then they bang all the way down, and they're neutral. So they can shift into first all day long, and they never have to worry about finding that neutral. And that's not a false neutral, because you can have false neutrals in the gearbox where it's getting, kind of hung in between gears. But this is a legit neutral, right? Like you go from second, you go to shift into first, you don't push it down hard enough, and then boom, you just find yourself in neutral, and you're just rev bombing all day, and then
been there, done that.
And then you kick it into gear, and it sounds like your gearbox explodes, and and it's nasty. So that's why you won't see a lot of guys using first with a traditional gearbox, and even even like an R1 and Superbike or something like that. Those guys are using first, but they're also like a lot of times using a Nova gearbox where they're using a different shift drum. And so it is a standard R1 with neutral 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
But, yeah. So, Gagne's using that trans.
Is he?
Yeah.
And so, when you put something like a Nova trans in, it's much stronger, but then the gear ratios are whatever you want because you can pick your gear ratios. And then, you don't have to worry about finding that neutral. You can just bang your gears all day and never fall into that.
So you're asking about who we got for the title, Martin or Pecco. So let's just go. Well, I guess we'll just get into the racing now.
Martin.
Well, okay. So
who do we want or who do we think?
I actually just don't care. Like either one is cool. Like I think they're both really good riders. They're just completely different types of riders. So there's a lot of weird things now popping up that are going to make things a little bit difficult, which one of those things has kind of been around forever, but for a satellite team, the satellite guys aren't really in the race too much for champions, so it's a little different. But
they weren't.
So a lot of teams don't share data between factory and satellite, but Ducati does amongst all. So Pecco can see Martine's data, and Martine can see Pecco's data. Not that it matters for much as far as setup, because they have completely different riding styles. So, honestly, it doesn't really matter.
Martine did just go on record, though, and say he didn't want his data shared.
Yeah, well, he does, but
he's like, Ducati's going to do it, and we know that signing up for it, but...
It is what it is, but he also discussed that, it doesn't matter a whole bunch because of their riding style.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, I haven't changed my setup, so it's not like there's anything new there. But the other kind of shit thing is the tire pressure thing. And I don't know if you read this, but they were like,
so dumb.
You can't, because of the 3-second penalty, if you're behind somebody, coming across the straight, if you roll off a little bit, it could be the difference of you changing the place. Because if the guy in front of you, which you have no idea, ends up incurring a penalty for tire pressure, and you were 3 seconds back, and then you roll out, but now you're 4 seconds or 3.2, he still keeps his place, right? But it's such a balance game, balancing act of okay, do we run? And hence why this last race, Martine didn't do well. When I started watching it, the first thing I said in my head was fuck, man, they mess with the pressure. They have the pressure up because they don't want to incur that penalty because he already got his one warning. And
I wouldn't say he didn't do well.
No, I'm not saying
he wasn't Fabio.
Well,
he did good. He just wasn't normal Martine.
Yeah, it wasn't normal Martine, and you could tell. And I mean, that's why he struggled, right? So now he just doesn't care. They're going to run the pressure that works. And if they incur a penalty, it happens. If not, whatever. Because, I mean, he's not as competitive if they try to do some kind of whatever. And he explained it I don't know the math behind it. So it is what it is, but I need, whatever pressure. But, the kind of shit thing is you can't gauge where you're going to be. If you're behind somebody, then you're not in cool, clean air and the pressure goes up. If you get in front with a lead, well, then you're, and you keep that lead up front, the tire's getting cooled down more so than if you're behind somebody. So then, if you start with a low pressure, you're not picking up any pressure. But if you get behind somebody, well, then you're going to pick that pressure up. So there's so much, math and magic that has to happen to figure it out.
You basically have to decide if you're going to lead the race or if you're going to battle.
Right.
You're going to be looking okay, I've been fastest in practice. I set pole. I'm probably going to do pretty good this race. Let's run the pressure I'm going to be in first place. And then if you happen to get behind somebody, you're screwed. And then if you're going to battle, you have to be okay, I'm going to battle. My tire is not going to get cooled. I can't lead the race.
Right.
If I get in the lead, I'm going to get in trouble. So I almost have to battle and then stay in second and then pass them with 3 laps to go or something like that.
What they need is, and I think a couple teams do, but I think they need to have monitors, decent size monitors, something that's going to flash in their face, even just a light. You're over pressure, you're under pressure. You know what I mean? Or at least a low pressure.
Yeah.
That way okay, I need to heat the tire up more. So even if that pushing a little bit more or using more front brake or whatever it is. But, a couple of riders said, it's kind of it's either go under pressure or crash.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
That makes it a little difficult with this penalty. And honestly, it's kind of shitty because, we were talking about it the other day about yes, there's it's like a safety precaution, and Michelin has data that says, okay, well, it needs to be at least this pressure or it won't debead. But we've seen people go below all year because there's several people. I don't know if you saw, there's quite a bit of the grid that have already got the warning.
Everybody's got the warning.
Yeah,
pretty
so
much.
so like people are running under pressure, and it's fine. We haven't had a D-bead, period. Like the only D-bead I've ever seen is a rear, and that was on Top Rack's bike. That it's big picture out there, but yeah. So I mean, the title fight wise, who knows, man? It's I think if Martin has the pressure thing in his head, then it's Pecco's. Honestly, but like if he legitimately doesn't care and things go his way on the pressure side, then I think Martin can win it because he just has a little bit more scrappiness to him and is more willing to like push it. And he usually from Friday practice to Sunday is pretty consistent, where Pecco is always kind of like set up, and then all of a sudden it comes together on Sunday. So there's always that chance that Pecco won't get that grid position, and that's bad because I mean having to fight through a lot of people, and if Martin's in front and he gets away, which he's gotten very, very good starts, then it's gonna that could make or break some stuff. And but the sprint races too thrown in there, that's a whole nother little aspect of it. But
yeah, the sprint races are awesome, and I don't I'm not voting for Martin because I love Martin. I'm more voting for Martin because I don't want Pecco to win.
Hater.
It's weird. I just don't like every person that's won. I'm like, they don't need to win again. Except
for Mark, yeah,
except for Mark.
Jesus
well,
Christ.
and Mir. I was like, cool, Mir won, awesome. But then like, it wasn't even like the next season. It wasn't even like he was in it, right?
Yeah.
He just he was completely off. It was Fabio and Pecco. But then, Fabio won, and I'm like, no, I don't want Fabio to win again. Let Pecco win. Then Pecco wins. But Pecco's been a douche. Like, his interviews and some of the stuff he says is just really stupid and annoying.
Yeah, I mean, he's just not, I don't know. He's not that, we talked about this, not that outgoing, fun guy. Not the Rossi, not the Cal,
and he's
that
a bit
personality.
of a crybaby, too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not like Maverick.
No,
or Lorenzo.
Yeah.
But he's a bit of a crybaby, especially when he's like, "Oh, the bike's too good." I crashed because the bike was so good. That was Coda, right? He crashed at Coda.
Yeah.
And he said the front end was too good.
Yeah, well, it's feeling. He didn't have the feeling, or whatever it was. But
yeah, and then Pecco's mad because satellite riders are the same time that the factory riders are. They're on the same bike.
Yeah.
Just because you're wearing red and he's wearing white, it doesn't change the bike.
Right.
Sure, you probably get priority with the data engineers and stuff like that, but still, it's the same bike.
And then so Luca Marini's move to Honda. That's everybody's asking him like, oh man, why would you do that? He's a smart rider, and I think we kind of want to follow in Rossi's footsteps to be, factory back team, but he also kind of wants to help be the one that kind of develops that bike. So when it does come out, that he can kind of take a little bit of credit for that. But I think it's personally, and I think pretty much everybody seems the same way, it's suicide at this point because not only that, but Honda is losing Red Bull sponsorship. They're following with Mark. They've pulled out. Who knows? Repsol could be next. And then the other thing that's really bad on top of that is there's a non-compete or whatever you want to call about that type of clause where Honda can't get another energy drink sponsor. So for I don't know for how long or whatever it is.
I think it was just a year.
Yeah,
so it wasn't very long, but I think it was just the following year. You're not allowed to have a major energy drink as the sponsor.
Yeah, so we were talking the other day. I think maybe Great Value, Walmart brand energy drink, or Kirkland. They can throw it in there.
Honda.
But that's Marini's going to lose, because he's got the Monster sponsorship. So that's not going to happen. That won't carry over. And if Honda loses Repsol, which there's kind of like a little rumor mill going on about that. What are they? I mean, they're fucked. They're screwed, man. What do you do with that?
And Honda's pulled out of motorsports before. So back in 2010 when that tsunami happened and everything like that. So Honda's a great company. The company itself, right? They weren't laying people off or doing anything like that. They were pulling from their motorsports to
I
save
remember
money.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it wouldn't be the craziest thing. Like, I mean, it would be crazy because Honda and motorcycle racing and MotoGP are just synonymous. But like, it wouldn't blow my mind if they were like, hey, we need to figure out our funds, allocate stuff, and we'll be back later. You know, like there's no sense in us even riding
Pull a
right
Suzuki.
now. If Suzuki comes back,
I don't think they will.
I don't know. I don't know what Suzuki's doing.
Well, I think that did I tell you about that or not? But there was some rumor about like they had the same kind of type of scandal with like VW with their diesel stuff overseas, and they were like right when that happened, they were like, yeah, we're out because they're gonna have to pay some huge settlement stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else on the GP? I mean, Pedro Costa, he got his title. That's all wrapped up, so that's cool.
On to gas to see what he can do.
Flipped a Razor or Can-Am in Dubai or wherever it is, Qatar, that area, because they were out doing dune buggy stuff, and Jake sent that to me earlier, and I went, oh, look, he is just like everybody says, oh, he's the next Marc Marquez. Of course, so that looks just like it. He crashed something, so.
He crashes it and just rolls it and just keeps going. It like lands back on the wheels, and he's like, okay, that's fine. Let me wipe some sand out of my hair. I lost my goggles, but I'm going to keep going.
And Honda did already cinch a title this year, right? 50 crashes.
They've got a lot of crashes.
Yeah. So,
a lot.
And I think somebody, I don't know if it was Mir said this or not, but like, no, somebody else said it. Like another rider was like, Mir is a well-established MotoGP rider. And he crashed how many times? Does Marini think he has a chance of keeping that bike upright?
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be impossible.
I mean, unless he's like parade lapping. But everybody crashes the Honda. That's the thing. Like, it's not just. And it's not just a Mark thing.
Mir is not a pusher like Mark is.
Not at all. No.
And Marini is kind of the same as Mir. He doesn't overbreak himself or do like things like that. He's not like Martin and Marquez and stuff. So. Like, it'll be interesting because if he still is crashing, like then we see the exact same thing that's going on right now. I mean, it's just the bikes. I don't know. Man, they're not going to improve too much. I don't feel.
I think Marini on the Honda is going to be like Frankie on the Yamaha.
Yeah, I agree.
Like there could be one race or something where he shows a little magic, maybe something works right or something, but for the bulk of the championship, he is going to be 15 plus.
Yeah, and like maybe I think Mir it might be this weekend because he did last year. I think he did okay at Qatar.
I don't remember. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Mir has showed just brief little tidbits, but he's never put anything together on Sunday.
Right.
Never. He just crashes. Poor guy.
And
you're right. He's a well-established. I mean, he's a world champion.
Right.
Like, he is a very, very talented rider, and he is just throwing the thing down the road every single race.
And then we can talk about the new news with Moto America, which is, Team Rahal, X-Pal Ducati. It surprised both of us on the one, which is PJ.
Yeah, we both kind of saw Kayla coming.
Yeah.
PJ was a big surprise.
So there's a guy that could win a Superbike title. Remember that? That's what Ben Spies said. So, interesting.
I thought didn't he say races, though? He could be competitive in Superbike races?
Yeah.
Which, no shit. He's won them.
Right.
Well, did he? Yeah, he won one last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he's won a race. Yeah, but
he won on Tytler's last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's okay. I thought so.
Was it Laguna?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't
remember
what it was. But, that's interesting because, he did, especially the second half when Cam's out, PJ really showed some strength, man. I mean, he was very competitive on that bike, and to see him go to Supersport is very interesting. And, who knows what all happened. We know Corey Alexander is off Tytler's. We have, Mesa. It's not been said who's riding for Tytler, but obviously we know Cam. They're not giving up Cam. It looks like Mesa may stick with it because he was riding that bike at down in Florida during ASRA or whatever. And then I just saw recently that, and I sent that link to you, where JD Beach was testing it. So, like, is there a possibility that JD Beach is on Tytler's? Which would be awesome because now we have even more really good. The only shit thing is if PJ's out, like, he was one of the ones that was the front leader, and that kind of takes away a little bit of that competition. But
there'll still be there'll be so many good riders up front.
Well, we don't know yet. Like, Heron, we don't know if Heron's for sure staying in Superbike. I'm probably pretty sure he is, and Chavi's plan was to go to Superbike as well. So if that happens, we have JD Beach back, we get Cam, we get Gagne,
we got Attack Fuel.
Yeah. So it could be really good. Well, hopefully it'll be a really good year.
And Cam will be back too. He took off early so that he could get the surgery, so that he could not Bobier but Peterson.
Cam Peterson. Yep.
He took off early so he could get the surgery and be all healed up and everything. So hopefully we'll see a bunch of those guys at the 200 again.
Yeah. Most likely Heron's always there for sure.
Yeah.
I bet JD Beach will be there. If he's getting back into road racing?
If he's getting back into racing, then I could see him doing it. Yeah, for sure.
So Kayla will be on the Ducati as well, and that'll be interesting. Just having another set of Ducatis up there will be an interesting dynamic this year. No word on anything with Warhorse, who they have, what rider they got. I assume they'll probably have somebody coming from Europe. For
the V2?
Yeah, for the V2. Usually that's what they're pulling. So, So it'll be quite interesting to see how that'll plays out.
Bring somebody back. Like, do you remember Valentine DeBeese?
Yeah, DeBeese was awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool to bring him back.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been doing. Where was he? He's been doing some weird stuff. But I remember watching him. He was on the GSXR. He was so good. Yeah. It'd be cool to bring somebody like that back to it, give somebody a chance. But yeah, they do always just like pull a big name.
They're they got the budget and whatever. So
come ride this bike for us.
Yeah, and then secure the championship. But I think this will be a little bit harder for him because the M4 bikes they were really good last year and kind of strong at the end. And
Tyler's he's a really good racer.
Oh, he is.
He is really coming into his own. Like, he's going to be really, really good.
And I wonder what's his name? Just gave me Disrupt guy, the Stock 1000 champ.
Hayden?
Yeah, I don't know what he's got going on, if he's going to be back on a Disrupt bike or if he's going to continue on a bagger. He was doing both, and Superbike, but on a stock bike. But it'll be interesting to kind of see where that goes. But bagger racing is getting big, and it's very interesting. And every year they get faster and faster. I remember the first year was like the 400s were faster, and now their Twins Cup pace or whatever could get even quicker. So, and old what's his name? Was it Corey West? Who was it? The drug elbow? No, it wasn't Corey West.
Was it Wyman?
Yeah, it was Wyman. Yeah.
I just texted Mark and asked him. I was like, "Is Disrupt running Hayden again next year?"
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Little insider information.
Give me the scoop here. I want to know. I can't If a team is looking for a reason to keep going and you won the championship last year, there's really no bigger reason, right?
Right.
Everything worked great. It's not like you just had a suck season and the bike sucks and it's like, man, maybe we shouldn't throw money at this. Like, you won.
Right.
Sponsors have got to be throwing money at you. You've got a good program. Like, do it again.
Yeah, but as the program, yes, but as a rider, do you want to continue on that or do you want to do something different? Maybe he steps up.
Hayden has been in so many places though that, and I don't know this. I don't know Hayden, but my guess is he is thrilled to have a ride.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think anybody would be. To get paid to race, so that's the thing. So
I would think he would take it no matter what. Like, sure, you'd probably want to go up from Stock 1000 to Superbike.
Well, he races a Superbike too.
Right. But it's that. I think that's what people look at as like satellite and factory. It's like Superbike versus Stock 1000. Like, clearly, there's a big difference between those two bikes.
Huge, yeah.
Not satellite and factory. So yeah, he does, run and superbike with his stock 1,000. But I don't know if Disrupt wants to front a superbike program. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot more expensive. So
It is, yeah. But I mean, honestly, he was very competitive on a stock 1000. I mean, he wasn't like top 6 or so, for the most part, but still like.
But he's a multi-class champion.
Yeah,
It's amazing that he
super
doesn't
impressive.
have a race.
Yeah.
Like, right. He's won Super Sport. He's won Stock 1,000. He's won races on a superbike. Like
Maybe
it's amazing he doesn't have like
maybe-
a full superbike ride.
who knows? Maybe Tytler's going to snag him up.
It could be. He's going to text me back and be like, no, Hayden left us. He told us to fuck off. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so that'll be one when more of that stuff comes out. And I mean, let's see, is it March is when Daytona is, or February? I think it's March, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's February. I think it's March. But yeah, I mean, there's some guys coming back. Like Jake Lewis finished some races last season. I think he did both stock 1,000, I think, and bagger. He was on a bagger for somebody.
Yeah.
And I saw that. So where did Travis Wyman go? Because he's not on Factory Harley for baggers.
I haven't heard because Rispoli took that spot.
Yeah. Because that was like Dream Team, like Wyman, and Kyle was talking about like how he always wanted to be a Factory Harley rider. And
Well, the last time it was all Wyman, and Wyman. They had all three.
yeah,
Cody was even on the back, riding the bagger.
Nice,
So that was interesting.
yeah. So I wonder if Travis didn't like it, or he had a better opportunity, or something.
Who knows,
Or
man?
maybe Harley was like, "F you, we don't like you."
Yeah. No, I doubt. I mean, they did a lot for Harley. I mean, as far as
Definitely.
championship-wise, so.
I wish Wyman or Kyle would go back to riding Superbike. I thought that was cool. I thought it was awesome that he fronted his own program and all that good stuff. Like, he wasn't really competitive. Nothing against him, but he just wasn't really competitive. But it was still cool that he built and fronted that whole program. You know what I mean?
So I'll send you a link to the Pipe Dreams podcast. He was on there and he goes through all that.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting, like talking like he had fucking no money.
So maybe I saw a short of it or something like that, but he was talking about that where he's like, I had like 3 credit cards and like I'd put this on one and then I'd put this on the other one and then I'd have to wait for this and
he
crazy.
bought a big motorhome and stuff at one point, like a rig and stuff, and had his team. And he said at one point like he had to. Like they were at the race and they had like no money for gas to get home. Like it got that bad.
yeah,
like,
no,
it's
I
pretty
believe
wild.
it. I believe it.
It's pretty wild.
I mean, when you think about that, like, it's not like you have a paycheck coming in every week
Right.
or every 2 weeks, and you're just spilling money just like crazy.
Yep.
Racing Wera is crazy expensive.
It is,
a
yeah. I
full
couldn't
Moto
imagine-
America
yeah.
Superbike program.
and do every round, like I couldn't imagine it. It would be insane.
It's gonna be so expensive. Even just the consumables. Tires, gas, oil, bodywork
Hotel.
from crashing.
Yeah, I mean, just your living, your traveling and
food
living
and
expense.
drink.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
wild.
I can't imagine how much that would cost.
A
And
ton
then,
of money,
Not
more
to
than
mention, okay, well, we got to buy 3 V4Rs and
well. It's
outfit
so there's
them.
some interesting facts on that stuff. Like I'll have to send it to you to listen to. It's super interesting. He's smart, man. He's really smart in what he does and how he accomplished these things. But it was always on the just ragged edge of like no money.
yeah, it's like a gamble. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna try it and see what happens. I think that's cool.
It was very interesting. That's for sure.
Well, that's like Flinders, Max Flinders.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yep.
Like, he just shows up on that R1 every weekend and
Yep.
like putting this program together. And I mean, there's a lot of guys like that. Same like Mesa. Mesa's
that.
been doing it for a while.
Yeah,
and
but
he's finally.
Yeah.
He's finally getting somebody else to pay for stuff now.
Yeah,
you know?
and well, because he proved himself. He is a fantastic rider. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, he accomplished a lot without having a big team. And then you put a team behind him, and dude, he's just incredible. So, it's less for him to worry about and stuff, which is, it's always good. It'll be, if he continues with the Superbike with Tytlers, I'm curious to see how he will stack up, long term. Because I mean, at the end of the season, it was just like kind of, give it a shot. He has to adapt to the bike and stuff and whatever. But having some time on it and being able to, look at some more data and really figure the thing out would be. I'm curious to see how that'll end up with him, but I think he'll do good. He can ride anything. So
Yeah, I mean, he's not foreign to a superbike. He spent so much time on a ZX10, right?
but it's much different.
Oh, for sure, but like still, it's not like because a lot of people probably see him like on the ZX6 and they're like, oh yeah, Mesa riding the 600, but like he's rode like I would think he's rode the 1000 more than he's rode the 600.
Yeah, like we were club racing stuff, and he just fucking dominated on it. But like that's not even close to the same level. Competition and club racing compared to Moto America, not even close.
Of course he does, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, when you look at all that, Weir and stuff like that, like Mesa's been riding for very, very good for a long time. So I don't think like obviously the BMW is better than that ZX10, but still it's not like it's foreign to him. It's not like he's stepping up from super sport going to 1000 and he's got to learn the bike and all that good stuff. Like he's rode thousands. He's been competitive. He's won races, so on and so forth. So yeah, he's got to learn the BMW, but I think he'll do good if he is doing it. I mean, I guess we don't know. So
yeah, if I had to put my money on it, I would.
Yeah,
because like I said, like why would they let him ride that bike Azra down in Florida for it seems a little awkward, but
yeah,
I think that's the case, and the same thing with Beach. Like I think he's out testing that bike. I think that's he's probably kind of made a decision already on that. So I would almost assume it's safe to say that they're gonna both be on one, but yeah, time will tell. Man, we're down to just you watching, I think.
Oh, is it really just? Well, I X'd out because I was messaging there. So
well, we got one.
It might not be me. We might have one single person.
Oh. But yeah, we can ramble on some more. But yeah, so I mean that wraps up kind of the couple topics I wanted to touch on with that. You got any little tidbits of stuff you want to cover while we're here and going?
No, I mean, there's nothing eating at me.
All right. Well, I mean, that's all I got pretty much. We covered a couple topics. I mean, I'll save my business start thing for the next one.
Yeah, I feel like we just kind of
you just kind of took that over, but that's fine.
Sorry, guys. I just thought I was more important. That's all.
You were at this point. So, but no, it's good. Like, people get to listen, see how that all started and some details about all that stuff. And that's, it's kind of what I wanted to get out of that is, kind of people have a little insight into what you did and how you got where you are and how things came to fruition on it. And, next time we'll kind of delve into mine a little bit and, figure it out.
Heck yeah.
But, well, actually, you know what?
What?
Next week we won't be doing one because it'll be Thanksgiving. So
is Thanksgiving on a Thursday?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, but cool.
Yeah, Thursday, whatever it is. Well, if we don't,
we can take it off, or we can do it a different day. I don't.
Yeah, we can figure it out. Like we'll post up on the Facebook page.
We'll do a poll.
And figure it out. I'm gone Thursday for Thanksgiving, but I'll be back. But so Thursday's a no-go for me, regardless. But we'll figure it out if it's Thursday or another day, and we'll post up. And if we don't do it, or we plan to do it one way or the other, we'll put it up and let everybody know, and then we'll just see whoever next time. But if we don't see you, then everyone have a happy Thanksgiving and whatnot. And, Jake, do you have any cool things to say before we roll out?
That's it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and thanks for tuning in and chatting and everything.
Yep. Again, if you guys have any suggestions and topics or whatever, just holler at us, and we'll try to cover those. And thanks everybody for watching, and till next time.